Okay, everyone, I just hit record, so we might as well get started. Good morning and welcome. This is Rails Online Roundtable. My name is Dan Bostrom. I'm the Rails Member Engagement Manager, and our topic today is hosting an online author visit. Today, we were able to recruit Sara Brunkhorst from the Glenview Public Library, and she's going to give us a presentation on what she's doing. And just kind of a reminder about these online roundtables, they're a little bit different. We sort of style them as peer-to-peer learning opportunities, so a little bit different than a traditional webinar. Sarah's going to do a brief presentation on what she does, and then we're going to transition into kind of a conversation. So there will be some time to do a Q&A, but at the end, we want to hear from you. We'll have some questions. We'll have some prompts for you to kind of ask and talk and hear what you're doing. So we do hope you'll stick around to participate in that. All right, so let's get started. Just first, our agenda. This is how we're going to operate. I'm going to do a quick introduction and talk about some things happening around Rails. Then we're going to have our presentation from Sara. That will be about 15 minutes or so. We'll do a Q&A, and then the second half, or the last 20 minutes or so, are going to be all discussion. So we want to hear from you. Just one other reminder, I forgot to mention this is being recorded. We will offer this as a YouTube video, and it's going to be available for anybody that wants to access it. So I'll try to get that up later today as time allows. Okay, so quick note about using the chat box. We really do encourage that. We're hoping this is kind of a conversation. So if you are using that, tell us who you are. We'd love to find out where you are, where you're coming from. In that chat box, you can put your name, your title, institution, one exciting thing that's happening in your library. That's optional, but just make sure if you are using that chat box that you are choosing the all attendees and panelists option. So that is one of the fields that you can click, and if you click all panelists, it's just going to go to Sara and me. If you do all panelists and attendees, everybody can see it, and that's preferable here in this particular format. Okay, so news and opportunities, just a couple things I want to mention about that are going on around Rails. So the first thing is we have this virtual services survey that's happening. And we're excited about this because there's a lot of great things that are happening out there in our libraries. And this is a chance for you to submit yours. It's a chance for other people to see yours. So you can kind of brag about what you're doing, but you're also helping other people, possibly develop new programs and services that they could offer at their library. We know every library is doing different things. We know that you serve different audiences. So please tell us about it. That would be a big thing. So you can fill out the survey, but you could also see the results. So we've made that available. And that is on our COVID-19 Pulse page. If you go to the Rails YouTube page, it's right there at the top as a button. Another thing that's going on is the census. Census is still happening, and we are really trying to do as much as we can to sort of help libraries. So we have a Census 2020 Pulse page, much like the COVID-19 Pulse page. On there, we have toolkits, flyers, sample social media posts, programming ideas, a ton of different stuff. So we do encourage you to check that out. Help us get the word out to your patrons and people in Illinois. There are a lot of hard to count areas in Illinois. We are really trying to do our best right now. So please help out in that particular fight. Just want to mention an archived webinar that happened. This happened back in March, and it was a great one. Angela Hirsch came from she's from the Cincinnati Public Library, and she did a webinar on us all about doing library marketing. And she also has her own website called superlibrarymarketing.com, and she really knows her stuff. So this was a great one. It's available to anyone who has an L2 username and password, so you can sign in and access that actually on the Rails website. This is one of over 150 archived webinars that we have available to you, so please do check that out. Just some upcoming online roundtables. So we have one next week, and that is with Jill Schachter. It's Shaping a Library podcast. Evanston did a little bit different with their podcast, and Jill's going to tell us all about it. We're excited about that. One that's not actually on here, but that we just added it yesterday, actually, is on Monday, May 4th. We're going to hear from some librarians at the Gail Borden Public Library about their virtual programs, and they're going to kind of give a holistic view in terms of creating virtual programs, assessing virtual programs, what it means to implement these virtual programs, and kind of creating an entire schedule behind that. So that's Monday, May 4th. It did just go up on L2 yesterday. Didn't have time to put it up here on slides. Sorry about that, but you can check it out on L2. And then coming up later in May, we have Solo Library Marketing with Emily Glimko from Addison Public Library. She's going to give a whole perspective on what it means to be the only person in your library that's doing marketing. You're the only person that's coordinating everything for the whole library. And we know that that is true for a lot of you out there. So please do attend that and sign up again on L2. Okay, so that is where I am gonna stop. And at this point, oh, whoops, you know what? Hold on one second. I need to, you're gonna, I think I accidentally uploaded the wrong presentation. So I'm gonna stop sharing for one quick second, and I'm gonna pull up the right PowerPoint. Sorry about that. Give me 1 second. So you should be seeing a blank screen. Okay, here we go. Okay. There we go. This one should be the right one. Oh, you know what? Okay. Sorry about that. Sarah, hold, please. This is my fault. I should have I uploaded the wrong podcast, but thankfully you have the right one. Okay, here we go. All right. Always check your tech before you get started with one of these things. Okay, there we go. You should be seeing it now. Okay, there we go. And now I'm turning it over to my colleague, Sarah. Sarah, you're there, correct?
Yes, hi.
Hi, okay. And I just gave you access to the PowerPoint, so you should be able to make sure everything is right.
Okay, yeah. Let me see. I don't see the little.
Oh. Okay, hold on 1 second.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, now try double clicking on the PowerPoint.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. There we go. Okay, cool. Thanks. Hi, everybody. My name is Sara Brunkhorst, and I am the Youth Programming Coordinator for the Glenview Public Library. And I'm here today to talk to you about some digital author visits. So just to be upfront, I've done a lot of digital author visits in the library, but my very first completely virtual digital author visit will be happening in May. So I've done a lot of research about this and done a lot of testing, but I can't really speak to any numbers or successes or anything like that at this point. So I'm doing digital visits with my middle school or middle grade age clubs for about 5 or 6 years now. So I have pretty good experience doing that. And I will just kind of go over what I've learned for the past couple of months. So when I talk about contacting authors, how when this is all over, you want to host an in-person digital author event, how to do it through Zoom, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and how to combine them all with Zoom. So to contact authors, most authors will contact their info on their websites. So you can go to their website and their personal email they check, or they will have a publisher representative generally available online somewhere on their personal website, or you might dig a little deeper and go straight to their publisher. So one of my personal favorites that I've used in the past, John David Anderson, he's a really great middle school aged author. I've done actually like 3 with him over the years. He gives you his actual real Gmail address, and he will be the one contacting you. If you're more interested in like an adult author or someone who's more popular, you might have a little bit more of a runaround going. So I've used Select because right now, So of course, when you go to her website, she does not have an email address listed. She has someone from Penguin Random House that you can contact. And I've had to do this before, and I have been successful in going through a publisher to get an author to do an author chat. The one that comes to mind would be Taya. Also, again, I'm a youth programming coordinator, so a lot of the authors I've worked with are youth authors. So what to do if you're doing an in-person event later on in your life is a great way to get others to participate is to provide free copies of the books when possible. And that's also great if you're not part of a consortium and can't get multiple copies of books. Right now, if you're all digital, Hoopla is the resource to getting people books because Hoopla does not they won't limit a library by the number of people who have it checked out. So 100 people could have the book checked out, but they limit however many checkouts in a month. So again, many authors will video chat for free, and the popular ones will probably ask you to pay. But if you don't have money, if you tell them that, a lot of authors will work with you because book clubs, even a book club for a public library, will generate book buying because people are lazy. They'll forget to check the book out on time and they'll have to like panic and buy an Amazon copy or something like that. So just be upfront with them and let them know, hey, I'd love to have you, but I don't have money. And again, before we move on to the good stuff, if you're doing an in-person author event, you of course need what exactly we have right now for this Zoom meeting. You need a computer that has video and capabilities. If you don't have that, get best groups. And you can use any video chat technology you would like for that. And here's just like a big example of group video chat. Okay, to get into the meat of what we're talking about today, just a straight up Zoom author chat. If you don't have a paid account, you can do this that are up to 45 minutes long. I believe up to 100 people on a free account can participate. And again, just like today, you can pre-schedule and share the invitation link ahead of time. You can put a password on it if you would like. People can integrate it with their social media and program calendars. And it just works really well. So if you decide to do just the Zoom author chat, the way that you can make it so it's a one-on-one where somebody is looking at just the author, you can make them a co-host. And then you can also make their video the spotlight video. Today we're using the webinar option, which is a paid option, but you can do spotlight video hosting on a free account if you're allowed to have that.
Hey Sarah, just you're kind of cutting in a little bit, and I don't know if there's anything you can do, but thanks. Some people have posted some comments that it's kind of your audio's kind of coming in and out a little bit. So
oh really? Oh, sorry.
That's okay. If it's bad, I'll get you to repeat some of the stuff. Okay.
Okay, yeah. Here, I'll keep my chat open too, so I can kind of see what people are saying.
Okay. Thanks.
So, sorry about that, everybody. Again, so if I just mentioned you can make someone a co-host and spotlight the video, and it makes it really great because, yeah, then they can control it as well as you. So, yeah, sorry, I don't have anything open right now, I don't think. So, if it gets really bad again, I have the chat open, just let me know. Oh, it doesn't like it when I have the chat open. Okay, so you can Facebook live stream your author. So you have a couple of options to do this. You can host an author remotely with a stream key, or if you want a really quick and dirty option and you don't want to mess around with third-party software, you can make the author an admin just for the amount of time that this video chat is going to happen. You might need to get somebody on board from IT, depending on how your Facebook page is run at your library. But that is just like you don't want to mess around with anything else option. But you can give your author a stream key and they can run it through a third-party software, and you don't have to worry about giving out passwords or making someone an admin and taking them off of the admin list. So here's just a little view of what it looks like when you go to stream something. The stream key is basically you send them this information on the page right now, and that allows them to put it into their third-party software, and then they will be able to stream to your Facebook page. You can also do a YouTube live stream pretty much the same way. Again, if you want to do it the quick and dirty way, you can give them rights to your page just for the day, whatever you'd like, and then take it away. Or you can use, they call it an encoder on YouTube, and it allows you to give them that information to put it into their software that they have on their computer and stream to your page or your live stream on YouTube. So one of the easier ways to do this, if you'd like to do a live stream on Facebook or YouTube, is to just go back to Zoom again, like we talked about before. If you do a Zoom meeting and do all the things we talked about for just a Zoom author chat, you can now stream out to Facebook or YouTube, and possibly both at the same time. I don't know 100% that you can do it simultaneously. I think it's possible, but you would have to have a whole lot of bandwidth to make it happen. You also have to have a paid or educator Zoom account to do this. So to do that, to enable the live stream, you do have to go into the settings and make sure it is toggled as on. You can go to the settings, scroll in meeting, and then make sure allow live streaming is checked, and then you can then stream to Facebook and YouTube. You might have to, if you have a paid account and you're not the admin, you'll have to get your admin to turn that option on for you. So once you're in your meeting, you can kind of play with it now. You probably don't have a lot of the same rights you would on your own Zoom where you are right now. You go to more at the bottom, and once that is enabled, you'll have the option to live on Facebook or choose live on YouTube. And then from there, it kind of like walks you through it wherever you're going, Facebook Live, YouTube Live. It'll ask you if you want to share it to your page, to your group, to an event. So you have lots of different options. And so that's what it will look like right before you start going live. And this will open up into a separate tab in a browser. And basically, it's the same exact thing going YouTube live. Again, the only difference with the YouTube is it's run through a Google account. So if you don't already have a YouTube page or a Google account associated with your library, you will have to make one. And you do have to do it at least 24 hours in advance before you can start live streaming. And then once you have everything set up the way that you want, you name the meeting title and it'll start streaming straight to your YouTube channel. And again, I want to get this in plenty of time so we have questions at the end. These are all the sources that I used for today. There's the YouTube Live instructions, Facebook Live, how to stream a Zoom meeting. And also, if you are interested in finding some authors, don't know where to start, a couple options at the very bottom. There's Kate Mesmer, who is also an author herself, and she has a list of like authors through all the ages, from like little kids to adults, who will do free visits. And then there's also a great Skype where you can get people from zoos to do free online digital visits as well.
Awesome. Okay. Sarah, it's funny after we got some comments about your audio, it was flawless until this slide, and there was a couple. It cut out a little bit, but other than that, it was really good. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to take over, um, and I'm also going to ask if anybody has Q&A. If anybody has questions, they can type them into the chat box. Oh, hold on. You know what? I realized what I did wrong. I got to go back to this slide right here. So we are at the point of our Q&A. So if you do have questions, yeah, Mary asks, will the slides be available? Yeah, we can find a, you know what? We can find a way of making these available to you. Sarah, as long as you don't mind, Sarah.
That's perfectly fine with me. Can you still hear me? I have a thing saying your speaker is not working, but
Oh
I'm
no,
gonna
no,
click
no.
on it.
It sounds good. It sounds fine now. You were cutting out a little bit at the beginning, but it got really good after I came in. So I appreciate that. Donna, just to let you know, the recording will be posted later today. It takes a little bit of time to download, but appreciate that question. Sarah, I really appreciate you kind of walking us through the entire process. You know, maybe you can sort of expand upon this a little bit. So, you and I talked about this before we started, and one of the questions we both sort of pondered over is what would be the difference between presenting an online, in your mind, an online author visit for an in-person audience versus an online author visit for an online audience. Is that something you've kind of thought about or prepared for?
A little bit. So, what I'm planning on doing for my first all online one is to run it pretty much like I would an in-person one. I will be doing because I'm working with children, I won't be doing the streaming most likely. I'm still kind of in talks with my department head about that and everything. But again, like we don't like, because there are children under 18 involved, we don't really like to put anything out there that anyone can watch that shouldn't be, even if it's just their voices. But so I'll probably just be doing a closed Zoom meeting for that with a password. And yeah, just getting the author on board and making sure they're comfortable is the biggest thing in my mind, because the tech, whatever they're comfortable technology wise, is what you're really going to have to go with. If they are familiar with Zoom, you can do just the closed Zoom meeting. If they are not familiar with Zoom, Zoom is pretty much like use it. So I imagine that there would be many authors out there who would be opposed to it necessarily, but it's whether or not they're comfortable with streaming live or having that information out there and stuff. That would probably be the biggest hurdle. I don't think the
Yeah.
technology is that hard to work with.
Yeah, so give me so give me your tips for making authors comfortable. Have you ever done this with an author who has never done this is like their first time doing an online like an online visit?
Yes. So one of the authors that I've worked with before is Donna Jo Napoli. She's a little older. It's not wasn't her first time, but sometimes you have to, if it's something that they don't do all the time, definitely laying out specific instructions, kind of like what I gave you today in my slides. Again, sorry if you couldn't really hear me. I don't know what's going on with my speaker or my microphone. But if you could give them just step-by-step instructions, or just really clear, like if they don't have a preference, just make it as easy as possible for them, and then they'd be more willing to want to do it, especially for free.
Yeah. Do
So
you have some sort of like PDF handout or something that you give them or like do you just do you have like a Word doc that sort of explain the process or is just something you would prefer to talk people through?
I usually just talk them through it, because honestly, up till now, every author has had a very different preference. Like a lot of them like to use Skype, a lot of them hate Skype and swear by Google Meetings or Google Hangouts when it still existed. So it's really a personal preference of what that person has worked with in the past and what they're comfortable doing.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. We got a question from Mary, and please, and just a reminder, please do, if you have questions for Sarah, please put them in the chat box. Appreciate that. Mary asks, would you consider putting the recorded Zoom visit on social media afterwards?
That is a good question. I personally wouldn't, again, just because I work with children and there's a whole gray area there of recording children, things like that. With adults, I think as long as everyone has given their permission or they're aware beforehand that it's going to be recorded and put on social media, then that would definitely be something that you could do. As long as, again, the author and everyone who signs up know it's going to happen.
Yeah. Okay, good. That's great. Thank you. Donna asks, is it better to do something through Zoom where participants can interact with the presenter, or Facebook/Google/YouTube Live where it is all one way?
Again, it really depends on the size of your group. If you want people to be able to voice chat and do things like that, Zoom is really the way to go, in my opinion. In like YouTube Live or Facebook streaming live, you can't really get people in without like going through a whole rigmarole of inviting guests and things, to have anyone actually like speak on the stream rather than the host or the person running it. People can type in the chat box just like now, but that's really the only way to do it on like live streaming services. So if you want like a back and forth and more discussion, something like Zoom, you could also use other options if Zoom is not your cup of tea for whatever reason. There's Discord, there's Party, and also something that you can use on a browser.
Can you,
So,
sorry, you cut out quickly there. Can you just say that last statement again?
oh, sorry. Just if you want more of an interaction, like a back and forth with the participants and the author where they can all talk together, using something like Zoom, or if Zoom is not what you would prefer to use, there's the option of using Discord, which is another similar like software that you can use, or House Party, or there's a million of these things popping up now with everyone at their houses.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've heard of Discord, but I've never seen library or never heard of libraries using it before. I don't know a whole lot about it. I just know it's sort of like it's like almost like a pop-up video like chat platform. Is that right?
It's been around a while. I've only really used it in the past for like just like a Google Hangouts where you type and like keep in touch with people. But it is very similar to Zoom or the House Party thing where you can have multiple tiles of people, or you can have one person like dominating the screen.
Yeah.
So kind of like a big like group that can all get together and chat.
Yeah, Donna, great comment. She says, "My sons use Discord for gaming," and I think that is maybe largely what it's used for.
Mhm.
Is that right?
Yes, Discord, pretty much before this, was something that people used for gaming. If you use Steam gaming, people used it for that, like the computer gaming, Steam software. Or a lot of people use it for you play Nintendo Switch games, not really a voice chat option.
Yeah.
So
Okay, great. All right, thank you, everyone. If you still have questions for Sarah, please feel free to put them in the chat box. At this point, I think we're almost right at 10:30, so I think we are gonna transition over to our discussion. So we want to hear from you. This is your opportunity to tell us what you are doing or what you have experienced. So I'm going to put the first question in the chat box. It says Q1 on it, which means it's question one if you want to answer. Just to sort of organize our discussion, please use A1 in order to correspond to the question. So the first question is, has your library ever done an online author visit, either for an in-person or an online audience? And if so, tell us about it. How did you choose the authors? What type of authors do you look for? Okay, so that's a long question. Listen to me type as you. Oops. Okay, and I've already made mistakes. In the meantime, one of the questions I thought of for you, Sarah, is have you ever, so this is a great example. Today we've already had some tech problems. Have you ever had tech problems with authors before doing online visits like this? And if so, how did you handle it? Sarah, do we still have you? Maybe you're on mute. Yeah, looks like you're on mute.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, my microphone has this little thing saying it's not working, but it seems to be working. And when I clicked on it, it must have muted me, but it doesn't look like it was muted. So I apologize.
No, we can still hear. Yeah, it's okay. Sometimes you fade out, but it's not so bad. So.
Okay, so yes, I definitely had technical difficulties before today even. Trying to think, the last time I can remember having a technical difficulty during an in-person author chat or an in-person digital author chat was not anything to do with the computer, the speaker, the microphone at all. So one of the pictures I showed you showed like a large room with lots of tables and people facing the screens, like the projector screens. My projector bulb burnt out. Someone on overnight. So what I had to do was I set up a little computer station and had the kids come up one at a time to the computer and kind of stand around to hear the answers while they had someone from maintenance come and switch the bulb out. It took like 10 to 15 minutes.
You're never gonna stop just random things from happening, right? It's never gonna be perfect. But that's maybe the fun of it a little bit is rolling with those small problem solving challenges, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Another time I had to use my phone when for some reason the camera wasn't working on a laptop. Thankfully, I had my phone with me at the time while IT brought a new laptop. So not everyone will perhaps have the right app or software on their phone to
Yeah,
run in a minute like that. So.
right. I will say that I had an experience yesterday, and this is germane to the library world. The ILA, there's an ILA committee for the soon-to-be famous Illinois Author Award, and they did an interview with the previous winners of that award, the winners from 2019, and it was run over Zoom. And I thought it went really well, and it was recorded, and they've offered it, as a recorded version. Yeah, I mean, like there is some things there's definitely some things you have to do, and it wasn't run as they didn't run a live stream via like Facebook or YouTube or anything like that. And they even had one thing that I thought was really interesting is they previously recorded a video, and then they played the video. They played a YouTube video via Zoom, and the one thing about it was the audio was a little bit off, so you could see people talking, and the words didn't really match what was coming out of their mouth. But I think it's just the like YouTube Zoom kind of feedback. So yeah, it's an interesting time. I think we're all sort of figuring out how this is going to work, especially with all these platforms and different authors and what they're familiar with. Okay, so I want to jump into some of the comments that people. Thank you for providing some feedback here. Donna said we had an in-person visit scheduled this week with Kate Cleese. Obviously, that got canceled, but our director did a Facebook Live thing with her last week. I was not involved, so I'm still on the learning curve for this. Yeah, Donna, we're all on the learning curve for this. Thank you. Mary Kay says we scheduled Melissa Isaacson for an online presentation of her book, State, a Team, a Triumph, a Transformation. Awesome. That will be in June, though. We will be using Zoom, and registered people can access a link to the presentation for 1 week after the presentation. Cool. Thank you, Mary Kay. Mary says we did Dan Gutman on Skype at a previous library. Awesome. Yeah, actually, I've heard Dan does a lot of online visits, and I've heard that he's a really good speaker and a presenter. So that's a cool one. Thank you, Mary. Appreciate that. Yeah, so I want to go and actually want to go back to Donna's comment. This is great. Here's the thing about this is nobody's an expert in this. we we're all just kind of like figuring out as we go along. And one of the reasons I was so excited to have Sarah come is she expressed interest. She had obviously this experiences doing online author visits in the past, but the like why would honestly, why would you choose to, before this whole thing had come up, before shelter in place, why would you choose to do an online author visit for an online audience? It wouldn't have made sense back then. It makes sense now, but we've only had what, 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks to adjust. So, it's nobody really has a market on this kind of thing. So.
Mhm. Yeah, and I will be doing my first all digital online author visit on May 20th. I had previously scheduled that author to do a Skype or just online like video chat with my kids at the library for this week. Obviously, that got canceled. So we scheduled that for next month, and we have asked everyone to check out the book from Hoopla. So
And one thing I want to say is I really like that tie-in is that's something obviously to keep in mind when you do one of these is make sure you have copies. Yeah, you hit it on the head. Make sure you have copies of that book available via your platforms. And Hoopla is a great one because of that unlimited synchronous use type thing. One thing, yeah, and that was true of yesterday as well for that soon to be famous Illinois author one is that book can be read by those two books can be read by anybody on BiblioBoard, which is another unlimited synchronous use platform. So as many people can read the book at the same time as possible. So that's a really nice thing to have for people. If you have an online author visit and you only have a certain number of copies from I don't know, something like Overdrive or Access 360 or something like that, that can put a little bit of a damper on it, obviously. So, okay, I put the second question in there as well. What types of equipment or platforms are you using? How will you manage the tech? What support do you plan on having for your visit? So, Sarah mentioned using Zoom and some other ones. Tell us what you're doing. We'd kind of love to hear more about your setup or how you're planning on handling this. I know a couple of people mentioned Facebook, and it's interesting because we're seeing a lot of Facebook Live virtual programming, things like this. But when you have to work with a presenter, I've also heard of libraries doing and Sarah even mentioned this, giving the presenter like access to the Facebook account. And I don't know how people feel about that, but sometimes that's a little tricky as well.
yeah, that's if you don't feel comfortable at all with technology and you just want something easy and fast, you could do that. But most libraries probably like that.
Yeah, Ricardo says Facebook or Zoom. Yeah, thank you, Ricardo. Appreciate that. Um, yeah, and I'm really interested to hear if anybody's using anything outside of those things. And Mary said Skype, so I appreciate that. Is anybody using any other platforms outside of those? I would kind of love to hear that because when we get examples of that, it's fun to see. I know Google. So there's Google Hangouts no longer exist. Is that right? Is that what you were saying, Sarah?
If it's still available to use, then they're phasing it out in favor of Google Meetings, I
Okay.
think is what it's now going to be called.
But in Google you were never, I don't think you were never able to record Google Hangouts. Is that right?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. Do you happen to know if you can record Google Meet or Google Meeting?
That I haven't really used for that, so I'm not 100%.
Okay.
Have to look into it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's well, if anybody knows, if anybody out there knows if you can record Google Meet or, or anything, or if it's even free. I don't even know if it's free. I know Google Hangouts were, but I've sort of assumed that more of these platforms are moving towards like a paid model. So we shall see.
I just Googled it and it seems that you can record. So there you go.
Okay. All right. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. And Zoom is great too, but it is not like a catch-all in terms of being, perfectly easy to use. And the like paid version of it is there's obviously more perks and things like that, but it's not in everybody's price range. So Anne Marie says our school admins record on Google Meet. Okay, thank you, Anne Marie. Um, And if you are using something, please let us know. Also, reminder: if you have any questions for Sarah, you can still ask them. We want to hear from you. Um,
And I think I just realized that I didn't include my email.
oh
Yeah,
yeah, do you want to just put it right in the chat box if
I'll
you're
just put
comfortable
that
with that?
there right now.
Cool.
I don't know if you're still sharing your screen or not, but I'm using your stuff for it. So, okay.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Anyone has any questions afterwards?
Well, I'm as long as people and you can still be answering question 2, but I'm going to put in question 3 right now. And this is something I'm interested in hearing a little bit more about from you, Sarah. Actually, how much interviewing or like preparation do you do? Oh, Sarah, it looks like your email went straight to all panels. If you click the all panelists and attendees link.
Thank you.
Yep.
Got it. See, I wasn't paying attention to you earlier, so.
Wow, that's okay. Okay, so tell us a little about your preparation when you go into like an interview like this. How much preparing do you do? Like, do you give the questions to the authors in advance? How do you moderate questions? How do you like how much time do you give for the audience? That type of thing.
So when I have done these before in person, I talk to the author first, and I ask because a lot of the times if they do these a lot, they have a preferred way that they've done it in the past, and I make sure that they don't have an expectation of how it's going to be run. And if they are pretty much open for anything, what I do is I my book clubs are usually an hour long in person. The digital ones are only going to be 30 minutes with the author the entire time. But I would have the kids arrive. Say it's from 7 to 8 p.m. The kids arrive at 7. The author chat would not start until 7:15 or 7:20, just to give stragglers time to arrive. Once the kids get there, I would ask them all to write down questions to ask the author, everyone at least 2 to 3, if not more.
Mm.
So I have them like pre-prepare, like I tell them ahead of time before this to think of questions as they're reading and let them know that they're going to talk to the author. But I still have them write them down when they arrive, just in case. Um,
And that's really smart too, because when you do like online things like this, and it can especially be difficult to manage like a chat box or something like that especially when you're also there, like trying to manage the tech is also trying to manage like the conversation that happens, I suppose.
mhm.
Um, and maybe that's a really good thing. Maybe there be a way to kind of do like a like a pre presentation like online form to get people to ask questions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think that'd
Uh,
be really good. And I also would share videos. Like I would share if there's a book trailer for the book that we're reading, I would share that with them either at the previous meeting or send it to them from we use sign up, like Demco sign up. So I can email those out, share any online interviews from YouTube or somewhere like that to kind of give them an idea of what is going to happen and what types of questions they can ask and things like that. So
yeah, I like that. Just a reminder, folks, if you have an answer to this question, how much interviewing of authors do you do, either for an online or in-person audience? Let us know. Talk about how you moderate questions and manage these type of events. It's great to hear. Um, and I want to go back to a little bit about the author thing. Do you ever have authors come to you with the questions that they want to be asked? Is that something that happens?
I haven't really had that before.
Okay, it seems a little, yeah, it seems like that would be a level of control that would be a little a little overboard, but I could see it.
Yeah, the most control I've had from some authors is that they were very time crunched and they absolutely had to start at this time and they had to end by this time, and they have a pre-prepared like 10-minute long like spiel about their writing process and about the book and things like that, and then the last little bit is reserved for open questions and things. So I haven't had anyone give me pre-prepared questions, thankfully.
Yeah, and actually I want to go back. I also want to go back to this idea of sharing the book trailer, and I think that's a really cool way of like promoting the event, and getting people excited about it. I could see a lot of opportunities for like again a virtual conversation or like a digital conversation is you use the book trailer to sort of generate interest in the live version, and then then you have obviously a recorded version when it's over. So it all kind of goes full circle.
Mhm.
Okay, so Donna answered question 3. For our monthly local author series, which is in person, we do a pre-interview called 5 Questions, where we ask some process questions and insight questions just to get people feeling like they're a little more acquainted with the authors. Yeah, thank you, Donna. That's a great thing. And yeah, we're all trying to sort of translate this process from in person to online. But Donna says we post that interview online. Yeah, that is a really good way. So if you're trying to generate interest, kind of get that person to submit some answers first, and then publish that as like a blog post or something like that, or on Facebook or something, and then make sure that you're driving people to the live version before. Is this something? Have you ever done something like this, Sarah? Do you ever do like almost like a pre-interview type thing?
Hmm. Not really, just because all the times that I've either had the author in person, the only time I've really done that has been for an in-person event. So I've done a few in-person ones where the author is local or they're here for some reason or another. We've never flown someone out specifically, because that's really expensive. Where we chose their book for a book club and they were there at the book club talking with the kids, and then we did a larger open to anyone event afterwards. So we kind of, the kids in the book club got a little time with the author on their own where there's not so many people, and then after that is over we move on to like a larger event in the library. So that would be the closest I've done.
Yeah.
I haven't really done pre-interview before.
Okay. No,
It's just
that's
like the pre-prep stuff. So like
right.
looking.
Right. That's great. No, thank you. I appreciate that. Um, and uh, and actually, I'm going to put the fourth question in here too. We got about 10 minutes left. So the question is, what sort of response have you gotten for your audience? What metrics do you use to measure events like these? I'm Sarah, and I'm guessing for you is like just attendance figures. But do you ever, when you've done online author visits, have you ever used like do you use like views in terms of the recorded version? Like, is that something you use to kind of like keep an eye on how these are doing, or is that's something you've done yet?
It's not really something I've done yet, because when I've done them before, I haven't recorded them or posted them necessarily. So, and again, if I did a live stream one, it would mostly be, I have a family book club that I'm going to be doing. So we can't have it out there.
Oh,
Um,
can you just repeat that real quick? You cut out a little bit.
sorry. I because I work with children, I like my hands are really kind of tied with recording and posting things like that include children. I just don't want to get into that like area, so I haven't really done a whole lot that's not through Zoom where I can just count the number of people who are there as opposed to the number who signed up. So, but other just like events where going to do some like online shows and other programs where it's live streamed, we would just count the number of views that Facebook would report to us through our page afterwards, pretty much.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's probably going to be a pretty common response to a lot of this stuff. If you all are doing anything else in terms of measuring metrics and things like that, let us know. I'm sure, yeah, and I'm sure that it depends also on your platform, right? And what kind of metrics you can get from each individual platform. So that's always a consideration. Does it matter? Well, I suppose the answer has to be yes, but does it matter a lot who the author is in terms of like attendance and participation, or does it matter more like what the date is, or what just like what else is going on?
I think for kids, it's more the date, the time, the book. They
Hmm.
don't, a lot of kids, if you ask them, would have a quote unquote favorite author, but I find that a lot of kids, middle school and lower, don't really get that there are like popular authors. Like they wouldn't really get the difference between like Alan Gratz and someone else not as well known, you know?
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
but for adults, I think it would probably mostly be based on the author, like the book itself, the author. You'd want to pick something, if not something off of like the New York Times list, which you, if you could get the author, and that would be the question, it would be something that, is the book relevant? Is it a popular enough book? Things like that. It just depends on the age group, I think, what they're looking for.
Okay. Yeah. I suppose that's true. Yeah. All right. So last question, and this is kind of an open-ended one here. What would you like to do in the future? How are you, um, like what are you planning on doing, or what are you hoping to do? Uh, what are your plans, hopes? So tell us a little bit about how you're thinking of kind of adapting this, like what you're thinking about doing in the future, Sarah. Is there anything that like, you'd like to like experiment with or try?
So I would definitely, hmm, for the author visits, I would like to explore doing like opening it up to a wider age range,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense. Like choose, I feel that I would get more of a response for my audience if I chose books that were more of like a family book club.
Yeah.
So a lot of kids' books that I would normally choose for a book club wouldn't hold that much interest for children or for adults. Like
Yeah.
the
Right.
kids love it, but an adult probably wouldn't so much want to participate in something like that. And I think the longer this goes on, the more we have to do online events, the more that you can include an entire family, the better response you're going to get.
Sure.
If you can pick an author or a book, or even if it's not one book, just do a subject matter and then maybe hold some events around those types of books with either or without, and get wholly involved if possible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Repeat that
repeat
last
that last.
what?
My current, so someone's asked what my current age group is. So I do programming for anyone basically in middle school or younger is the programming I coordinate. So, and I kind of have like a little fuzzy bit of a line where some books could be considered middle school or high school. But I would want to get an entire family involved, I think. I'm going to have to see what the turnout for this upcoming May digital book event is going to be. But I think if I start choosing books that have a wider age range appeal, where parents want to read it with their children, they want to come and participate, I think that would get more people involved in wanting to embrace the digital platform.
Yeah, yeah, and that's actually a good consideration is how many people are willing to try this online, right? And some, I know I can certainly think of some communities where the interest in trying like a digital program, it would be a big ask for a lot of people, and it might not be. But there are also places where I could see it being really successful, and something that people might want to even stick with beyond shelter in place, or or whatever comes next. So. But I like that expanding the age group, yeah, and making it a whole something to appeal to the whole family. There is certainly a lot of potential in that for sure.
Which is a big ask if you're
It
trying to get
is.
an author on board too.
Yeah.
Some of the books that I could think of that, like I mentioned earlier, I have a family book club planned for later in the summer now that's going to be digital. I can't get the author because it's The Hobbit, Tolkien, so not
Yeah.
available. So a lot of the books that do meet that kind of like broad range of appeal, the might be older books and the author's deceased, or they're just too famous to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sarah,
Sarah,
just
just
repeat that last part again.
oh, from the just too famous to want
Yeah,
to
exactly. Yep.
at this point.
Yeah, right.
So, like, I
Um,
could see doing books like Harry Potter or even like the Hunger Games as like a family event. But what are the chances you're going to get those authors to agree to do a 30-minute video chat?
Right. Donna had a great comment. Most of our previous events have been for book promotion where we introduce the book / author, giveaway copies, trying to figure out how we could translate that to an online version. Yeah, I mean, can you, if your author will let you give away PDF versions or EPUB versions, I don't know how that would work. But that's a great question. Donna, I'm sure you're not the only person that has that question. Um, yeah, I don't know. Maybe some other like giveaway. I don't even know. Um, but it's really difficult to kind of give away things like that. So. Okay, so Mary asks this great question for you, Sarah. Do book club members get input in choosing books for the discussion? She says off topic, but wondering.
Um, I've tried again. I don't know how many people in this event work with adults, children, young adults. I work with young adults and children mostly. I've tried giving them the choice in the past, and honestly, it just works out better for me to choose for them. When I did give them the option to vote or even presented them with different, I think that's the best way to do it, is to present a few options and let them choose from those, especially with adults, because if you give them a free range to vote for whatever they want, they're going to vote for something that if you're looking to buy physical copies of the book, you just can't because it's not out in paperback yet. It's not something that's available on Hoopla, or any of those like synchronous book sites. So I think giving them the choice is good, but don't give them range.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that
I think that's a good tip. Yeah, and that give them enough options where it makes it seem like they actually have some free will in the process. But that's a good one. Okay, so actually we are almost to 11 o'clock, so I'm going to bring us to a close. Before I do that, I just want to say huge thank you to Sarah for doing your presentation today. Sarah, thank you for joining us. And also thank you to everyone who participated, everyone who came. Again, this is going to be recorded. It'll be available from the Rails YouTube page. And you should be getting an email about it tomorrow. It'll be an automated email from Zoom. Again, thank you so much for signing up. We appreciate it. And have a great weekend. Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.